Hello, 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 everybody. How are you? How are you? This is Kenneth Overton, your host of Black Opera Live, which is sponsored by Black Opera Productions LLC, the company that is producing the upcoming documentary Black Opera, which is should be due out by the end of 2021. I am so very excited about that. And thank you all for your love and support through this entire filmmaking process. We are excited to bring it to you just as much as you are excited to see it. And we're in constant work for it. But today we have four of the most incredible, beautiful women that I've had the pleasure to meet and to admire and to learn from my entire career. And one of the big reasons is that 30 years ago, they were part of the Glynebourne production, Trevor Nunn's production of Porgy and Bess, that was turned into a film. And I remember as a young person watching this production over and over and over and over again. And it became the standard for me as I viewed Porgy and Bess, the brilliance of it, the beauty of it, the authenticity of it, and seeing people on the screen who looked like me and sounded like angels. These women in particular today, I've had a pleasure to meet and to have conversation with and to share the stage with and to admire from afar. And it's just such a blessing to have them all here tonight. And they are as excited to be with each other as I am to have them on the show. So first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about them because listen, these resumes are extensive and these ladies are grand. They are fantastic. First, Paula Dion Ingram. Paula Dion Ingram has been described as one of the finest singing actresses of our time. Noted for her considerable versatility, she is a winning performer, whether on stage, in her training field of opera and musical theater and cabaret, in front of cameras for commercials, film, and television, and while coaching young artists via her collegiate masterclass tour. She has sung extensively in Europe, particularly Italy, Germany, Holland, Belgium, and England. Having lived and worked in New York City for a brief time, she is now residing in Las Vegas, Nevada, pursuing her passion for performance, coaching, writing, and composing. Presently, she is collaborating on a new project documenting her life and career as a classically trained singer on a non-traditional path. I am so excited to have her here because it's a funny story. When I was younger and first saw this film, I said, "Oh my God, that woman is so beautiful and she sings so beautiful. Oh my God." And then somebody said, "Well, that's not her singing." And I'm like, "What you talking about, Willis?" So I'm going to let her tell the story about that. So welcome, Miss Paula Dion Ingram. I am so glad to have you here on the show. Next, we have my big sister from Philadelphia. And y'all know I have a love affair with my hometown, Philadelphia. And you cannot be from Philadelphia and not know the Simpson family. Marietta Simpson, a native of Philadelphia, known for her deeply expressive, beautiful mezzo-soprano voice. She has sung with every, not just 1, 2, 10, or 15, every major orchestra in the United States, under many of the world's greatest conductors, including the late Kurt Masur, Simon Rattle, Lauren Mizell, and the late Robert Shaw, with whom she made her Carnegie Hall debut in 1988. She has also sung with many of Europe's major orchestras, including those of London, Prague, Berlin, and Vienna. She has performed on some of the great operatic stages of the world, including La Fenice, La Scala, Glynebourne, the Royal Opera House at Covent Garden, Théâtre du Capitole de Toulouse, Opera de Bordeaux, the Houston Grand Opera, Los Angeles Opera, New York City Opera, Glimmerglass, Washington National Opera, and Opera Company of Philadelphia. I am so honored that she is here. So honored that she is here. Welcome, Marietta. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Cynthia Clarey. Oh, I got to share the stage with this stage demon a couple of years ago here in New York City at Lincoln Center on the Masters of the Spiritual Recital. And I just sat back and watched and I said, that's a pro. That's how you do it. And most of what you're doing, most of what she was doing, it can't be taught. You just either got it or you don't got it. And Miss Clarey has it. Cynthia Clarey joined the cabaret world in Chicago after 35 years as an international opera singer. She can be seen on the film La Coronazione di Popea with the Glynebourne Festival, and in the award-nominated Porgy and Bess, directed by the Trevor Nunn, which is the topic of tonight. Since coming to Chicago, she has been teaching at the Chicago College of Performing Arts at Roosevelt University. She is a member of Chicago Cabaret Professionals and has performed at several venues in Chicago and beyond. 2 years ago, she made her theater debut in Porchlight Music Theater's Scottsboro Boys and was seen last year in their revisit to 1776. She has also two one-woman shows, What Becomes of the Brokenhearted and Bridge Over Muddled Waters, that she presented at Davenport, Roosevelt, and the Shore Family Firehouse Theater in Johnson City, New York, and at the 8th Floor Club Room at Symphony Center in Chicago. I am so honored that she is here on this evening. Welcome, Miss Cynthia Clarey. And I want to welcome a woman who is so special to me that I got to meet and work with in Klagenfurt, Austria, in a concert performance of Porgy and Bess. And we had such a wonderful time, both on stage and private time over lunches, and giving me pointers and advice and just sharing. And, you know, we have similar faith and know a lot of the same people in that arena. And I just adore her. Miss Cynthia Haymon-Coleman. Perhaps best known around the world as Bess in Porgy and Bess, Miss Haymon made her debut in 1985 in the title role of Thea Musgrave's Harriet, A Woman Called Moses, in the world premiere performance for the Virginia Opera. Since then, her career has taken her around the United States with engagements that include Micaela and Carmen with the San Francisco Opera, and Susanna in Le Nozze di Figaro, and Liu in Turandot with the Seattle Opera. In 1986, she made her European debut as Bess in Trevor Nunn's production of Porgy and Bess at Glynebourne with Sir Simon Rattle. She also created the role of Coretta King in the musical King opposite the great Simon Estes in London's West End. In concert, Miss Haymon appeared with the Israel Philharmonic under Maestro Kurt Mazur, the London Symphony Orchestra under both Min Won Chung and Michael Tilson Thomas, the Cleveland Orchestra under Isaiah Jackson, and the Boston Symphony Orchestra for the world premiere of Ned Rorum's Swords and Plowshares. Ms. Haymon performed in the world premieres of Portraits by Richard Daniel Poor with Yo-Yo Ma, and Emmanuel Axe, and John Williams' first song cycle, Seven for Luck. Ms. Haymon's first solo recording, Where the Music Comes From, American Songs, on Decca's Argo label, features art songs by American composers. I love this woman. I listened to that American Song CD over and over again. That's how I found out about the beautiful Richard Honley's music. But Miss Cynthia Haymon-Coleman is here, and I am so excited. So, ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in a virtual round of applause and standing ovation for Marietta Simpson, Paula Dion Ingram, Cynthia Clarey, and Cynthia Haymon-Coleman. Welcome to the show, ladies. Oh, how are you?
Great.
Oh my God, it's so good to see you all, and you're all just gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. I cannot take it. We're going to find out what you're eating and doing to keep you so gorgeous after all this time. My word. So I want to go around the room and start with your beginnings. Where did you grow up, and how did classical music come into your life? And let's start with Cynthia Clarey.
Okay, well, I was born in Smithfield, Virginia, and as in a lot of Black families, I was adopted by another family when I was 10 years old and moved to Rocky Mount, North Carolina. I had been singing since kindergarten and always sang in church, as most of us have, and school. And by the time I reached high school, I was pretty sure that singing was what I wanted to do. So I got a scholarship to Howard University. I went there, and then I went to the Juilliard School. And then I went to upstate New York to the Tri-Cities Opera, which was at that time a training company for young singers, and there weren't very many like that in the country. That's also, well, I had met my husband, my soon to become husband there. And we lived in Binghamton for about 10 years before we moved to Germany, because he had a contract with the Cologne Opera. So we lived in Germany and in England for 10 years, came back to the States. By this time, our marriage had ended, and my voice had changed to what you hear now. I went from being a soprano to a mezzo to a baritone.
Listen, I had the same thing, but I was 14.
Yeah,
But I just skipped the mezzo part and went straight from soprano to baritone.
Baritone, right. Well, I was in my 40s when, as I like to say, menopause had its way with me.
Gotcha.
And my voice dropped about an octave. So I thought I was done. I thought, well, I won't be singing any more classical music. But when I came here to Chicago, I stayed with Robert Sims. It's great, Robert Sims, everybody knows. And he said, no, you've got to keep singing. You can sing. And he would take me to open mics. And finally, I was really nervous because I couldn't tell what was going to happen with my voice. So sometimes I would drive to the open mic, get there, and turn around and drive back home. Too afraid to even get out of the car. Anyway, between Robert and my head of my voice department, Judith Haddon, and Becky Menzie, who's a great person here in cabaret, and my teacher then, David Edelfelt, I started singing cabaret, and I love it. It's really kind of what I wanted to do in the beginning. It's why I went to New York for graduate school, because I wanted to do musical theater and all that.
Wow.
So, opera just kind of jumped in my path, and I started getting hired, and I thought, well, I guess that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I enjoyed it, of course. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I love it. I love it. How about you, Miss Paula? Tell us, where'd you grow up, and how did you get started in all of this?
I would love to. Thank you so much, Kenny. I am a native of St. Louis, Missouri. And I grew up singing at our church, Washington Metropolitan AME Zion Church.
Come on now, get it all in.
And I sang my first solo at age 11. I still have the sheet music. I still have it. It was I'm Glad.
Oh, yes.
And the minister of music at the time, William A. Pearson, who is still with us and has been a mentor and manager and just another father to me, he directed the Anthems Choir, and he went to high school with my parents. And so after I sang, and I was very nervous, backing up 1 second, you could join the youth choir in my church when you became 12.
Okay.
My older two sisters, because I'm from a family of 4 girls, they were already in the youth choir, and my father, would take them to rehearsal, and me and my younger sister would go, and I would sit outside the door, and I really wanted to sing. And our new pastor, who later became bishop, came down the stairs and said, why aren't you in there? And I said, because you have to be 12. And he said, well, baby, if you want to sing, you're going to go in there and sing. And right after that, I got my solo. So
I love it.
And said to my parents, there's something here. So he kind of pulled me under his wings, and I sang it at 12. The next year, sang in the Anthems Choir. And I went to a high school in St. Louis, Southwest High School, that was known for producing musicals. And my freshman year, the high school choir director, because you didn't have to audition, you could just sign up for choir. She asked me to audition for the musical. And so as a sophomore in high school, I did Fiona in Brigadoon. And the next year I did Hope Harcourt in Anything Goes. And I think we did Mame. And I fell in love with the stage, fell in love with singing. and then earned a scholarship to go to the University of Missouri in Kansas City, the Conservatory of Music there. And so I studied voice there, and like Cynthia, loved musical theater. But, when I came out of high school, and especially because I finished high school in 3 years, so I finished early, I was rather young. I went to Kansas City at 16, and turned 17 a few months later. But I really wanted musical theater, but at that time, the option was to train classically, and I am so grateful for that. I finished my degree there, and then in voice opera performance. And then I went on to Indiana University. At the time, it was just the School of Music. Later, it became Jacobs School of Music. And I studied with Madam Virginia Zayani there, and love her. And we still keep in touch, and she's in Florida. But I earned my Master's of Music degree there. And after I finished there, and I had a chance to do the operatic roles there, most of them were the secondary roles, Second Lady and Magic Flute. And then I got a chance to do the summer productions. They did musicals. So I did Maria and West Side Story and Aldonza and Man of La Mancha, and I was hooked. So, but I didn't think I was ready to just head off to New York yet. So I finished my master's degree, finally went to New York City to do auditions, and landed my very first professional job. And it is what we were speaking about now. I was of Bess to Miss Cynthia Haymon as my first professional job when I came out of my master's program. And then I ended up touring after we did the Glynebourne production we did for 2 years. I ended up touring the Carmen Jones throughout Europe, where I sang the Michaela role of Cindy Lou. Went back into New York a couple years later and auditioned for Henry Lewis for Carmen Jones. And I had a discussion with Madame Zayani. She said, when he's going to see you and want you for Carmen, but no, you let him know that, your FOC is, lyric soprano, and you're only interested in the other role. So if you knew Henry Lewis, you couldn't tell him much, the late Henry Lewis. But I went into the audition and I sang, and he says, yeah, I think he was even smoking a cigarette back then. And he said, no, I want you for Carmen. And they flew me to England, and Simon Callow directed, Henry Lewis and Wayne Marshall were the conductors for Carmen Jones. I went into Carmen Jones right after Wilhelmina Fernandez opened it, and I spent quite a bit of time there. Fast forward, and I came back to Indianapolis with my husband, and we had more babies, and I stayed more close to home, regional, but always had that desire to get back out and do it. And now, after 5 children, and our twins are now 20 and they're at Howard University, I am back in a career. So for everybody out there who has tried to do it all, I say you can do it all. It just may come in different segments of your life. So finally, I'm here in Las Vegas. I'm an Actors Equity member, so I auditioned for lots of things in New York, and now I'm here and continuing on the journey of singing, opera, musical theater, cabaret, any and all of it. It's just a gift, and I am so blessed to be able to do it.
What an amazing journey and story. So amazing. Marietta, my love, will you tell us how it all started for you?
If I can find that mute button, yes. So I first of all, it's great to be here. It's great to see everybody. And thank you for having me. So I come from a big family that's musical. And so music was in my family. We sang together. And so I think it was probably a foregone conclusion that music would be a part of my life. But I didn't necessarily know that I wanted to be a singer at a certain point, because I wanted to have my own identity. I thought that I would not be a singer, I would be a band instructor. So my undergraduate degree is actually in instrumental music. But that was very short-lived. Student teaching told me differently. So after that student teaching experience, I thought, no, this is not what I want to do. So my late sister, Joy, who went to Juilliard with Cynthia, suggested that I go to Binghamton to Tri-Cities Opera for graduate school. So I skipped over all of the first solo and all of that, but that was all in the school district of Philadelphia, which at the time had an amazing music program. So I have had incredible music teachers all along that, you know, gave me the first solo, that were incredible musicians themselves, that becoming a music teacher was not their second choice. It was their first choice. And
Amen.
so they were great teachers, they were great musicians. And so you didn't get that frustrated musician vibe from them.
Yeah.
They were people that really loved what they were doing. And so they inspired us to also be musicians of some kind. So I just wanted to throw that in there, that those people they made an indelible mark on my life.
Yeah.
So shout out to all the music teachers out there. That I just want to say that. So anyway, I graduated, went on to after Temple, I went on to SUNY Binghamton. After Binghamton, I went into the Young Artist Program at Chautauqua. After Chautauqua, I went on to be in the Young Artist Program at Houston Grand Opera. And from Houston Grand Opera, did the audition to get to Glynebourne. And
Wow.
yeah, so it was one step right after another. I feel really blessed throughout my life that the network kept growing, and after leaving Houston, then I made the audition for Robert Shaw, which led to an extended period of time working with him and
Wow.
all of that. So yeah, it all started in church with my family, all of that. And one thing, I feel like the circle kept getting bigger and expanding, and, you know, including more people and these lovely ladies. But I've known Cynthia since I was 11 years old.
Wow.
And yeah, so, you know, the people that you meet, hopefully they stay in your life for a long period of time. So
Yes, indeed.
yeah.
Yes, indeed. You all are inspirational in that way. Because, you know, there's people who aren't friends and colleagues for 30 minutes or 30 days. And here we are 30 years later, and you all actually love each other. It's amazing and wonderful to see. It really, really is. Cynthia Haymon-Coleman, my love, please tell us where'd you grow up and how'd you get involved in all of this music stuff? Yes, you can unmute now.
You can hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I was trying to make up something while they were all talking. You know, just imagine, Kenneth, when we did Porgy together, there were about, maybe 75 other people who were just as lovely and just as delectable as these three women. They were just some of the most wonderful people. And I tell you what, Kenneth, if I had any idea what a delicacy, what a privilege it was to be in the wealth of such unbelievable people, I would have let Paula go on the stage and I would have stayed backstage talking to everybody. Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I feel so blessed to be here now in this presence. But my story, how I started singing, is a very strange one, I think. I started singing because Daddy said so. I'm one of 9 children.
Wow.
And Daddy made us all line up in stair steps because my mother had a baby almost every year, except for the little ones when they got to the end. And I just happened to be the one caught between usher board, choir, usher board. So Daddy said, "You'll sing," and I said, "Okay." Better to be obedient than to be disciplined for being disobedient. So, but I love music. And so anyway, but I grew up in a very tiny little town of about 58 people. And most of that my family. But down in the other community, just about a mile away, there were more people. Not a lot, maybe about 500. And anyway, I was the church pianist. So I played Take Me Back quite badly and Oh Happy Day. And still, Mary Helen, I would start off in F and she'd come in G Mixolydian and would sing with all her conviction. I couldn't play either. But anyway, so I played in church. And then when it was time to graduate from high school, I had started in pediatrics and was also accepted into University of Florida for engineering. And so in high school, I did pediatrics for most of the time I was there, intro to pediatric nursing. And graduated early and started going to Florida Junior College, FGC. And I fish. I love fishing. So I fished for 3 years. I did deep surf fishing, offshore fishing, deep water fishing.
What now?
Yes, I've won awards everywhere for fishing. I love to fish. And
Listen, well, this is why we do this show, because y'all didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Knew that.
I think you all knew.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. The only one you didn't mention was Bubba Gump fishing.
You want to know how they knew, Kenneth?
True.
You want to know how they know I fish? Because one performance at Glynebourne, me and Willard, what was it? Cod were running. I drove to Seaford. I'm telling you, Kenneth, I was catching so many fish, I just couldn't stop. And so by the time I came to my senses, it was like 45 minutes before curtain. But I'm telling you, I caught buckets of fish. It's like Jesus had touched the water, and the fish were just jumping out on the lake. So I couldn't leave. And sure enough, I ran in there enough time to, smell like cod and put my red dress on and come in there. And, they were all excellent. These are professionals here. But I slid in there just enough time to make that first entrance. And Greg Baker, of course, he's going to give me a hard time. Where you been, baby? I've been fishing, baby. So anyway, but that's what I did for 3 years while I was studying biology at FJC. And then one of my teachers said, I tried to play the saxophone, but I was even worse at that than singing. So I had to declare something as my major, and I kind of gotten bored with biology. So my teacher said, if you sing, why don't you go over to the choral department and sing them a song? Well, I only knew one song, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. So I sang that. And they let me in the department. My teacher had come from Northwestern, and I just happened to have had the grades to correspond. And I got a full scholarship to go to Northwestern. And there, I was a voice major. Only problem, I didn't know any songs. So.
Wow. Yeah,
so I went to Northwestern. And then I found out something very, very useful. I discovered, Kenneth, that there were these organizations that if you learn these songs called arias, they give you money. All of a sudden, I was an opera singer. So I just decided, because I had niente, of anything. I had nothing. I'd show up in Chicago with cork heel sandals on in the first blizzard. So I had to win a concert.
Right.
Contest. So I would go to these people's living room and just leave my heart beating and bloody all over their living room because I had to win those contests. So I won all those contests. And then I met this guy while I was at Northwestern. I met my Barrington.
Oh.
And I had been praying this prayer, which I advise people to pray who are not married yet. My Sunday school teacher in Florida told me, child, pray this prayer. Lord, if I'm to be married, send me my husband and give me the wisdom to know him when I see him. And September 1980, Barrington knocked on the door. And that moment, God answered my prayer. I knew that was my husband.
Wow.
And I closed up the library. I was working in the music library. And I went back to the dorm and I told my roommate, Marydale Podachek, I said, Marydale, I met my husband today. And we dated for 8.5 years. We were engaged at Glynebourne the second year. And we got married the following year. Marietta sang at our wedding.
Oh, my.
Yeah, so these people, these ladies are deeply ingrained in our lives and in our hearts. But anyway, so I went to Northwestern and then Barrington is a singer as well. And Barrington said, I'm going to go audition for this opera company called Santa Fe. And why don't you come audition too? Well, I was just trying to wait him out until he asked me to marry him. I didn't care about being a singer. I didn't care about all that other stuff. I was just like, I just want to get married and I want to have some babies.
Right.
And but he wanted to be Alfredo Kraus or something, I suppose. I don't know. And so I had to wait him out. And it took him 8.5 years. And in that time, I just kept auditioning for stuff. And so I ended up, going to Santa Fe and as an apprentice. And then the next year I came back as a principal. And then after that, while I was in Santa Fe, Brian Dickey somehow came about. And they asked me, Thea Musgrave asked me, she was writing this new opera. She's looking for somebody to sing the opera. So I just went in and auditioned and they cast me as Harriet. And then after Harriet, my teacher said, somebody in the group said, when I was at Northwestern, I studied with Tibaldi and Bergonzi as well. I won this big competition, so I studied with them. And so anyway, I went after Santa Fe to Virginia for Thea to write this opera for me. And then after that, Sir John Tooley came along from Royal Opera, but Glynebourne wanted me to do their English debut before I did Covent Garden. So my first job was Liu in Detroit. My second job was, I think, Santa Fe. I broke my leg while I was doing Harriet. And then I went to London and did Glynebourne. And after Glynebourne, I went on tour with Covent Garden. And after that, I just kept working.
Amazing.
And now I'm here.
Yeah. Absolutely amazing.
For 32 years, and we have 2 children, 2 boys, Crofton and Camden. And I just love being a mom. I really love it. And I taught at University of Illinois for 15 years. And I'm retired now.
I was talking to Priscilla Baskerville a few months ago, and she said, I am in free-tirement.
I love that. I watched your interview with her. Boy, is she precious. What a great lady. Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Isn't she just great?
Great lady. Oh, yeah.
And so now, all of you are moms, right? Everybody's a mom. So, Cynthia Clarey, how did you manage motherhood and career woman? You can unmute.
I'm going to mute.
Since I was married to another singer, we pretty much took him wherever we went until it was time for him to go to school.
Gotcha.
And then we kind of stayed around home for a while, the first couple of years. Then he got a job in Cologne in Germany. So we up and moved everybody to Germany. So we were still pretty much all together. I was freelancing, so I was gone a lot, but Jake was right there. So he had us for another few years. And then things got a little weird in Germany. And there were a lot of skinheads, and they bring over a lot of Turkish people to do the jobs that the German people don't want to do, but they don't treat them well. And they were being mean to them, and they were burning people in their homes. And Quentin had been attacked a couple of times on the tram, and because they couldn't quite tell what he was, but he wasn't German, that for sure. So I said, you sit up near the front where the driver is, and because nobody tried to help him or anything, but he managed that, and we thought, well, we got to get him out of here. This is not good. Yeah. So we decided to send him to. We decided to do something we swore we'd never do. We sent him to boarding school in England. So he was 10 years old. So he did 3 years at Cumnor House School, and then he did the rest of his time at Seven Oaks. And really got interested in well, he was always interested in music, but really got interested in theater. Anyway, so that's how we took care of it. But I mean, up until he was 7, he went wherever we went. In fact, we had been in Cologne, I think, 2 years or a year. And then And I had been traveling and he had been there at home, and he said, I was going to Australia. And he said, why can't I go to Australia? I've been here. I've not been anywhere in a whole year, you know? So I took him to Australia, and of course he loved it. And he got to go with us. You know, we were both involved with Peter Brook, which also kept us together.
Mm-hmm.
And Peter Brook got us somebody to take care of him when we were in Paris. One of our nieces went over, and then we had another person. So we were just determined we were going to make it work. And I had talked to Sharon Daniels and her husband, and I asked them, you know, how do you do this? And she said, you just have to plan. You have to plan, and you have to make sure that you have somebody who will back you up. You know, and I had that with my friend Gloria Hopkins. She was his godmother, and she said, whenever you need me, just call me. And I did, and she came. She always was there.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. Marietta, what about you? How did you manage all of that motherhood and career woman?
Well, I have a really great support network. I will say that. My parents, my siblings, Adrian's paternal grandmother was really fantastic with that. And with all of that, I will have to say, even though she and I, as you know, my daughter's a grown woman with children of her own now, I still carry guilt about that, because no matter how great that support network is, it's the one thing that will make me cry, because there are things you miss. You know, I missed being there for her junior prom. But I bought the dress, I made all the preparations, all the things that you can't be there for. Mm-hmm. You can do everything before you go. You can make all the meals. You can do everything to plan for all those things. But there are just times when you can't be there. So I did everything to make sure it was covered. But the part of me that wanted to be there couldn't be there for all the things I wanted to be there for. So, you know, it's part of the sacrifice that you make, because I was a single mom. So, you know, it wasn't like I could, you know, somebody else was not there in that case. I didn't have a spouse to call on to be able to do that. But I had an amazing support network that was there for her. But it, you know, it was what it was. I'm incredibly grateful for that. And she is always like, Mom, I totally get it. You know, we had that. She has totally, given me the child's blessing for that. But that is what I carry as the mother, because there are things that I wish I could have been there for that I just wasn't able to be there for.
Amazing. Amazing. I love all of these different stories and experiences, because it's going to help young women coming up in the industry today. It really is, because there's no one clear-cut way, but there is a way, and that's what I think is so important.
If you want to do it, really want to. It's all in the planning, and it's like I try to make sure that I am at my son's birthday, because I missed a lot of them. His birthday's in the summer, and he'd be still in school, and we'd be here, there, and everywhere. But now I try to be there if I can, if I possibly can get there. I make a point of it.
Is that your daughter, Marietta?
That is my daughter. Why does she want me to cry like that?
Oh, that's beautiful. Hi, Adrian. Hi, Adrian.
Hey, Adrian. Oh, listen, she knows I love her beyond measure. Oh my God, I can't believe she wrote that.
And Kenneth, you know, she went to like Princeton and Harvard and Columbia and everywhere else. And now she's fixing that car up on the moon that they just put up there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love it.
Kind of with your mom, huh?
Right.
I love it.
Well, Kenny, I will say, thank you. I will say also, I agree with everything they've all said. I think for me, you know, our oldest daughter, it's about the support system, as everyone has said. My husband, Gregory Howard Coleman, We've been, in fact, Gregory and I got engaged right around the same time Cynthia and Barrington got engaged. And so we've been in this for almost 34 years now. And I was about 12 when we got married.
Of course, A child bride.
But my husband was so supportive and continues to be. My parents, who are now both deceased, my mother traveled with me. In fact, our oldest daughter, Christian, who lives and works in New York City, she traveled on that Carmen Jones tour. She traveled with me. So her little passport had all the little stamps in it. And my mother traveled with me. When I ended up doing the Carmen Jones in the West End of London, that was a pretty nice contract that I was able to bring in. At that time, we had 2 daughters. So Christian and Candace stayed with me for quite a bit of time in London, and the production managed all of that well. I have to say I felt very spoiled with the car service and the apartment and the nanny and everything else. And that was all brand new to me and my children. And by the time we had the 3rd daughter, Kara, Candace and Kara both live and work in Las Vegas. By the time we had Kara, I stayed a little bit closer to home. I did more regional work then. And then after we had those 3 daughters, Greg and I made a decision to try for that son. And we were blessed with, there's my hubby.
There he is, there's a hubby. I love that the family is all in the chat rooms. I love it, family.
Right. We were blessed with girl and boy twin. And I say girl and boy because our 3rd daughter, Kara, as I said, Candace and Kara are here in Las Vegas, but Kaylin and Greg, Kaylin is 15 minutes, she's older by 15 minutes and she's let him know that. But they are now sophomores at Howard University.
Yay.
And so Candace and Kara, Christian and Candace, when you have 5, you have to count them in order. Christian and Candace were with me in London for quite a bit of time. And then my mother assisted, and then my husband. And as Marietta said, I mean, I would pack things. If I were gone for a month or 2 months, I would pack things if they were going to be with their dad and roll them, all the little outfits rolled up and everything. But there are some things that you miss. But I have always been of the mindset, and these ladies who know me very well know that, as long as your children know, and to all of the moms out there, those who did decide to continue careers and be moms, as long as our children knew and could articulate once they got of age to say where their mom was, it seemed as if that just seemed to work. So, the first time I had to leave Christian in Indy, she would say to other people, they'd say, well, where's your mommy? She's to Europe to sing. And Kara would say the same, and others would say the same. So I just think it's hard. Every lady on this screen, and you, sir, have been given a gift. This is not from us. This is bigger than us. And some people have an opportunity to travel the world. Some people have a career that keeps them more in their city. Some people have chosen marriage and families and didn't get to do their career the way they thought it was to go. But I am telling you that God has a plan for every one of us. And in his plan and at his time, it all works out the way it's supposed to. So my sisters, Rhonda, Michelle, and Lori, they were support system. I just had such an amazing, amazing family. And now, here's the beauty. Now that our youngest are 20-year-old twins, they help me now in my career. Kaylin is my stylist. Candace is doing, writing, for me. Christian and Greg and Kara are doing parts of it. So this is now, they're helping mommy start this next chapter of my career. And it's just such a blessing.
That's fantastic. Now, Cynthia Haymon, you and Sir Barrington, the fantastic tenor that he is, you all have 2 boys, is that right? You can unmute.
Got it.
Tell us about your boys.
Okay.
Or are they grown men now? I can't remember.
Oh, well, you better be sure they are manly men. Crofton is 26, and he lives in Chicago. I know. You're getting old.
No.
I know. Crofton is 26, and he's a professional musician. He's an I can't say that he's an R&B artist. He's a He's a whoever he is. And he's doing wonderfully. Lives in Chicago, earns his living purely from making music.
Wow.
Wonderful. Camden is at Vanderbilt University. He's a junior. He also plays football at Vanderbilt. And yeah, he's doing great. It's so wonderful having them. Now, I have to tell you also, Marietta forgot to mention one of the reasons she's so successful and that Adrian is so successful is that she had a nanny extraordinaire. I babysat it. Didn't I? I got to babysit Adrian.
That's right. That's right.
Marietta, tell her what a great babysitter.
Listen, Cynthia was a fabulous baby. I want you to know, I just have to tell the stories about each one of these women. Paula and Cynthia Clarey were the first people to give my baby a rib bone. I want you to know. They were the first people to give my baby a rib bone. I was
Come on now.
No. Oh no, she doesn't have that. They were like, give that baby a bone. She'll be very happy with it. My baby was so happy with that bone, like she had nectar from the gods. Okay, I just want to say that. And then,
Well, I can tell you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And then Cynthia Haymon babysat Adrian.
Yes, I did.
And I came and my baby was sitting up in a chair like she was 50 years old watching TV, leaned back with Cynthia Haymon and Barry. Cynthia before because I was pregnant the first summer. Cynthia Haymon sent me back with a Moses basket that was so beautiful for her. So that was like her first bed. When I came back the next summer, Adrian was born. They all loved on Adrian so much. It was the sweetest feeling. Yeah. It was like she was their baby. They gave her the bone. I'll come back to get her from Cynthia Haymon. Adrian sitting there like a 50-year-old watching TV with Cynthia.
She was going to be like our children. Oh,
that was our baby. Yeah.
That was our baby.
Well, I have to say, Cynthia Haymon was making cookies with Quentin. And
that's right.
Yes, at Glynebourne. And Quentin said to her, Cynthia Haymon, because he always called her by her whole name, because Cynthia Haymon, do you have any children? And she said no. And he said, well, you need somebody to take care of.
Just speaking into my future.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
That is beautiful. That is so beautiful.
I had such enormous jealousy for Paula Coleman that she had babies and then I didn't have them. I could hardly look at her. I was like, she's got children and Marietta's got one. I just, and then Cynthia, with my name, but she had Quentin. I had no children. That's all I wanted to be. I just wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be married and I wanted to be a mom. And even now that I'm 62, if somebody just left their babies on my door, I would be so happy. I just love being a mother. I love having children. So I want to tell you that it's not as, as Puritan as it probably should be. But what I did with my children, I just carried them everywhere. I decided our babies were not going to have a formula bottle until they were 2 years old. So I nursed them. And the directors and all, and Seiji Ozawa, I'll never forget him, for we were doing this world premiere thing together. And I would stand there right in the middle of the continuo with my babies in my Imo Yunga and nurse my baby. He would stop, take the break, let me nurse my child. Pierre Aldi did the same thing when we do the L'Incoronazione di Popea. We would stop every hour, every half hour so that I could nurse the babies.
Wow.
The system, I must say to you, was just absolutely wonderfully accommodating. I think the energy of a family is such a beautiful thing. And they just engulf that. Now, mind you, I wasn't singing Bess pregnant. However, when I had Crofton, I was 3 months pregnant singing Popea, and my Nerone, Brigitte Ballet, was 8.5 months pregnant.
Wow.
And which was very interesting. But anyway, so we're friends to this day because our babies are literally, just within, months of each other. But here's my confession. I knew I would have to make a decision about my career. One, because I loved everything about having an operatic career, but going to the airport, packing my bags, the tenors, the directors, the conductors, putting on the costumes, learning the music. Everything else I was just dealing with. And I thought, okay, well, this might not be a good sign. So what I did, which is this is my confession.
Yeah.
I often would arrive at opera houses and knew about 6 pages of the music. Okay, there it is. It's out.
Wow.
Because I was just not going to miss one moment of these precious little angels God had given me.
Yeah.
And I would, one time with our oldest, that's why he's always trying to find something else for us to do. I would stand over his crib, me and Barrington would just watch him so much that I swear we saw him grow. Now, granted, it was like 2:30 in the morning. We were just standing there looking at him. I wasn't going to miss a thing. I heard Michelle Pfeiffer say something very good. She said, an interviewer asked her, what is the best thing you ever done for your children? And without missing a beat, she said, save enough money for the psychiatric help they're going to need later on.
Listen.
And I think probably, we go to the same thing. But I have to say that if there was anything that I think I made a decision, I know I made a decision, that if anything was going to suffer, it was not going to be those babies.
Yeah.
I was often not prepared as I should have been musically. I can remember going to Tours to sing Iphigénie. I knew about 2 pages of the opera, and that Iphigénie just does not leave stage. They stopped rehearsal for 2 weeks. They should have fired me, but grace of God, because I needed the money, they let me finish the job. But anyway, that's my story.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, God is good,
God is very good. I just wanted to jump back in to say this, that, no matter how people work it out for their lives, just know you can hold space in your heart for the gratefulness for the opportunity, and also hold space in your life for the guilt that you carry. It doesn't mean that you are not grateful for the opportunity. Okay.
Marietta, you got so wise.
Okay, it is possible to have both of those things at the same time. Okay.
And
Go ahead.
I'm so glad you said that, because we as audience members and fans and colleagues alike, when we see you all on the stage looking beautiful, sounding incredible, you don't know the stories. You don't even know half of the stories that you all just told this evening. But you all consistently put out some of the greatest art that the world has ever seen. And you're carrying this in your hearts, in your spirits, on your shoulders. And it's tremendous. It's tremendous. And you all are to be saluted and commended and adored and celebrated. I adore you all, really do. So now on the show, I have this thing called showing receipts, because I don't just talk about my guests' accomplishments. I give absolute bona fide proof, examples of the greatness. And I wanted to show a little clip of one of for the reason that we're here. And then we'll talk about it when it's over. What you think I is anyway, to let that dirty hound dog steal my woman? If you want to stay with Porgy, you go and stay. You gotta hold down, honey, and you got love. So stop your crying, can't you understand? You're gonna go about your business.
on that wharf so long, Clara. You got no cause to worry about your man. This gonna be a fine night. I never saw the one look so blind. This is their waiting, holding this breath, listening for the Cherokee bell. To the baby now and quiet down.
Y'all are just amazing. Oh my God. Oh my God.
God, the memories. Oh my God.
I know. I'm just sitting here tearing up.
Oh my God.
Now, Marietta, does it all come rushing back when you see it like that?
Oh my God, yes. First of all, I'm like, Lord, young. And yes, it does come. It does very much come rushing back. And just the community, number one.
Yeah.
I say this every time I see Cynthia. I got to stand on stage for so much, for so many of the moments. One of the most special moments for me, a couple of them. One, to be there when for the funeral scene, which we didn't see, but for My Man's Gone Now, some of the most riveting moments ever. So bravo to Cynthia Clarey for that.
Thank you.
And really beautiful. And to see Cynthia Haymon and to experience her singing Summertime. Probably one of the most thrilling moments of my life that I got to experience, just being on that stage to experience it. Really, some of the most special things ever in my life to experience.
And Kenny, and Kenny, you said you wanted to, so that the audience is clear.
Yes.
We did Porgy 1986 and 1987. And in 1988, we came back. And some of the cast changed in 87 from 86, but in 1988 we gathered back in London to record the album. And so, as I mentioned, I was covering Cynthia Haymon in the role of Bess, but I performed the role of Annie. And Trevor Nunn, boy, I love me some Trevor Nunn. Trevor Nunn decided that Annie, because she was only singing when she was on stage with Serena, he decided that Annie and Serena were in the same family. So everywhere that Serena was, there was Annie, and I loved every minute of it. So we recorded the album in '88, and I sang the role of Annie, and I sang also the soprano soloist, the hurricane scene and all. So we all recorded the Carolyn Blackwell was Clara, and she did an amazing job recording the role of Clara. But then by the time we got around to doing the film, which we all had been so excited about, I had been contracted to do the role of Annie and soprano soloist. I had just come out from doing London, the Carmen Jones in London, and I received an email saying, well, not an email, I received a letter saying that Carolyn was not going to be able to do the film, so I would be doing the role of Clara in the film. And so we all knew that we would be lip syncing to the album for the movie, but I had to then learn the Clara piece to lip sync, and it has been on my YouTube page. Anywhere I list it, I always put in parentheses, Paula Dion Ingram actor, Carolyn Blackwell soloist, and she and I are sorors along with Marietta. We are in the same sorority together, Carolyn, and she's a dear friend. So I always give the credit to that Summertime that you see on YouTube. I'm acting, but it is to her voice. What an amazing voice.
Amazing. And she sends her love. I was texting with her last night. She wanted to come on, but she, of course, is teaching at 25 universities, and they had her on a Zoom call tonight at the last minute. But she sent all of her love to all of you. And Cynthia, did Barrington have to beat up Willard sometime?
Now you want to get complicated.
I'm going to go on mute.
I'm blacking my screen.
That's a complication. Lord, Lord.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus, he gonna get in the business. Well, there were a few moments, shall we say. First, I want to say this, that Carolyn sang that Summertime in one take. Remember that, you guys?
Yes.
She walks in, one take. Okay, I had been warming up for days because I knew Carolyn was going to sing the same song. She came in there with her little puny self, and perfect. First time. Yeah. I remember you guys, all the directors going, well, I guess that's it. I guess we've got it. It's absolutely perfect. There's nothing more we can do to that.
Not a bit.
No, it's stunning. That's jolly good. Jolly good. Good. But well, you know, Kenneth, I can just tell you that, you know, we get to England and I see this big hunk of a Jamaican, and we did not get along at all.
Oh no.
Not at all. I couldn't stand him, and he couldn't stand me. And so it got complicated.
Lord have mercy. Well, we don't have to go into all of that if you don't want to.
Oh, I don't care. It isn't, you know.
Can you tell this woman is a storyteller? Okay.
My daddy was a preacher.
Okay.
Right. Got to preach that story. Yeah, it was just, you know, I guess I'm probably one of those hopeless romantics, and I have got to have a, what do they call it? A showmance, you know, and nothing happened off stage. But oh boy, I loved Porgy. I loved Porgy. We had a meeting, we had to get together that Harlan put together just a few months ago. And it was very interesting at the end of all these years of knowing Willard and passing him by and working together in different opera companies around the world. We finally, I sent an email to him to say, I hope I didn't embarrass you with telling you that I loved you, Willard. And he wrote back, no problem. And then I wrote, goodbye, Porgy. And he said, goodbye, Bess.
Oh.
Because, you know, now we go on with our lives, you know, we have, but it was a kind of a symbolically, I'm glad that our lives met at this juncture, and now we go on. This has been a beautiful thing, just magical. And I think all of us feel so privileged to have been a part of such a wonderful time in life.
Now, Cynthia Clarey, what was it like on, first of all, lip syncing to your own self and being on a film set? Like, what was that process like?
It wasn't bad. I think I pretty much sang it the way I sang it both times. And but what was difficult for me was that on stage, I very often came to tears, and I wasn't sure if I was allowed to do that on the film. which is crazy. Of course, I should have, I suppose, but I thought, well, they're not going to believe that I can keep singing if I'm crying. So I really tried holding back, but I've heard it several times now. In people teach, they're doing Gershwin or whatever, and they said, "Oh, would you come and talk to us about this production?" And then I sit there and listen to it. And this was the first time that I heard it, and I started to I mean, I always tear up when I hear it, but I really, and I'm sitting in front of all these people, so I can't really let go, but I'm thinking, I will never be able to sing that again. But it's there. But it's there. So
it's there, and it's there for.
And I did. And interestingly enough, that first time at Glynebourne, for that scene, my mother had passed away just before I went to Glynebourne. And so that whole thing with the body being right there and all that, that the first time through with all that was really hard. And I knew you just keep doing it, you'll get over it. And then the second year, Marietta's sister Joy was my best friend. By the time we came back the second year, Joy had passed away. And when we got to rehearsal, I said to Marietta, do not look at me. We are not going to do this. We are not going to do this. But again, I mean, it was really, really hard. And but one of the greatest moments in my life, in my career. I'm so glad that it was filmed, that we have it on tape. So, but that whole experience was, it was magical.
Yeah, you can tell the magic jumped off of the screen every time I watch it. There's a different part that touches me or grabs me that I didn't see the first 670 times that I watched it.
Yes, so much attention to detail went into that show.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Amazing. And so, Marietta, can you tell us what is it like, the discipline actually from going from the stage performances to the film version? What are some of the differences? What are some of the similarities that you had?
Well, one of the things that I think some of the similarities were because so much meticulous work had been put into the stage performance. There, sometimes, from productions, an ensemble, people think of the ensemble en masse, right? So it's the flower group, get into a flower over there, get into a clump over there. Everybody had a family. So there was not just a group of people. Everybody had a family. Everybody had a name. Every child was assigned a parent. And so in that hurricane scene that we just saw, parents were looking for their children. Mm-hmm. They weren't just looking for a random body, right?
Right.
The urgency was that people were looking for people that they cared about. So that kind of, the anxiety that was on people's faces was real because they had imagined their children, right? In the funeral scenes, we talked about what food would you bring to a repast?
Who's bringing a potato salad?
Yes, right.
There's a different story.
There's a different, yes, because we came from all over. This was a multicultural group of Black people, right? They were not all from America. So we had people from the Caribbean, and we had people from England. And so at one point, somebody said, curry goat. And all the Americans turned around like, curry goat? We ain't bringing no curry goat to a repast. I mean, it was all those kind of conversations that happened, so that we had to have a common language to talk about experiences and all of that. So there was lots of community building that happened, so that when we came together in all of those instances, we really were a community by the time we got to filming it. So I think that was one of the things, that to bring a camera to capture those moments that we had established on stage, to try to make sure they were just looking into it as opposed to it being performative. That was one of the things that we kept trying to capture those moments.
And the third dimension as well. I mean, you see Porgy done so many times. I've had the pleasure of doing Porgy and Bess at Glynebourne twice, but that is the only Porgy full version I've done. I've done concert versions of it, but so that experience is really dear to my heart. But when you think about when Jake is gone, and then when Clara goes out, and when Crown goes out, we were able to shoot that hurricane scene. It was an onstage, in the studio, but there was really water there. And one of those takes we did when Greg went out, when Greg Baker, who was Crown, went out for Clara, he grabbed on, ladies, it's an edited version, he grabbed onto one of the, there's really water there. So at one point he ended up in the water. I don't know why they're laughing. It was a very dramatic scene. And Greg Baker did an outstanding job acting and singing. But just to have that kind of realism there on the set, which took it beyond the walls of Catfish Row, was amazing. And I have to say, Trevor Nunn, listen, because he is the Trevor Nunn, and he came to this with his own ideas, as you would imagine, being prepared for this. But he allowed, as Marietta said, it was multicultural, and he allowed all of us to contribute and to really get inside the story of Catfish Row. Like it was simply amazing.
And remember, this was the first time, this production was the first time Porgy was not on a goat cart. So, and that was like really, people had a lot to say about that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
And the reason for that was because Willard had really bad knees. And he said, I can't do it. I won't do it on my knees. I can't do it. And he said, well, we'll find another way. And then they worked that out. And I'll never forget the first time he walked in with the crutch and dragging the leg, and the way he was costumed and all. I mean, he looked dirty. He looked.
Let me tell y'all, for me, it's harder to do it on crutches.
Probably,
I prefer to do it
on your knees.
On my knees. Yeah. The crutch, and then the having to constantly make sure that your knee and leg is twisted for 3 hours is just, it's outrageous.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that Trevor talked about was that he never understood, if Porgy is so poor that he's begging, right? And they have him coming in on the goat cart, because sometimes people would bring the live goat cart in, and then they have to have a goat handler.
Yes.
So he's like, so this guy is so poor that he's begging, but he can afford a goat handler. So what is up with that, right?
Over time, I have so celebrated the fact that we did a Porgy and Bess where Porgy was not on his knees. He stood up like a man. Broken though he may have been, he stood up like a man, so he looked Mr. Archdale in the eye.
Yeah.
And I know that from crawling around in all these big opera houses all over the world, so many Black men have osteo issues because of crawling around for endless hours. But the only man that gets to stand up in the show and be boldly masculine is the Crown figure. It just, I always wrestled with that. I didn't, and still do not, like the idea of that. So I've always been so proud that our Porgy stood up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. Well, I want to share this other clip, and we were trying to find clips where it had all of you in it, but the guys are just everywhere in this show. But I think I did a pretty good job with this one.
In dessa
Hey Nessa, hey Nessa, hey Nessa, hey Nessa,
Oh, you sinners, you call yourselves church members, you goes on a decent picnic of the sons and daughters of Repanti, saith the Lord, and when the Christians turn their backs, you start behaving like Sodom and Gomorrah. It's a God's wonder the Lord don't send his living fire to burn you off in the face of the earth. And you, Jake, always so loud on that church meeting, tell me when did you start working for the devil? Take them baskets and get on the boat, all you wicked children of the devil. Hear what I tell you, it's high time you was going. You best hurry up, you're gonna miss that boat.
If that boat go without me, there's gonna be some blue lightning in Catfish Row when I get home. Here there, hold your hold. Ours are coming. Hurry up, Bess. That boat's getting a whooping cough.
You know very well this crowd. Baby, the ice in the veins.
Oh, honey, we were selling tickets to the thicket.
You understand? We was all trying to stay behind for that boat.
Clara was like, Jake, you go ahead.
Okay.
I tell you what, I sure wish I could drop these 30, 60 pounds back over there on Kitty Walk.
Oh,
Oh,
listen.
Oh,
Nobody sing the beginning of that. I'm telling you that. Oh, what's
Listen.
that's like Cynthia Haymon. Do you understand what I'm saying?
What
Oh,
was that?
my God!
That is so
what was
beautiful.
that?
I said, did nobody sing that like you? That's what
What
I
do
Yeah.
you
said.
look like that?
It's like this
It was
now.
fabulous.
This,
I
like this.
don't know.
Oh,
Yeah,
when
it's still
she
saying. I
sang
still
that thing,
got
we
it.
would all be like, "Oh mercy, oh mercy!"
There you go. I still got it.
I know
Yeah,
it,
I know
y'all.
you
Woo.
do.
And
No,
that
I don't.
costume.
No,
yes,
I
you
don't.
do.
Yes, you do. Yes, you
Yes,
do.
you
No,
do.
I don't. I ain't warmed up in
That
7
costume,
years.
that costume was so gorgeous. Her
Yes, it
costume
was.
She
was so
was.
beautiful.
and
Yeah.
you know what? I think that's a lesson for all the costumers that do this show. Y'all looked fabulous. You
Yeah.
were fit beautifully. You looked fantastic. Because when Black folks, when we go to church picnics, we pull it
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what, if they brought that dress to me right now, I'd have to wear it as a handkerchief around my shoulders.
That's all right.
But I think to your point, Kenny, that's what was important is that, you know, all of those details, because you bring out your Sunday best for that picnic.
Yes.
Right.
And the food that we carried and all of those things, every little detail.
Yes. Yes.
Every little detail.
Let's just be honest. There have been some amazing Porgy and Bess. There's so many that are watching that have done some amazing Porgy and Bess around the world.
Yeah.
And I had the pleasure to see so many amazing performances. This was just something different. It was, while it was my only one to compare it to, it was just, there was something spiritual about Catfish Row. And it was something that all of us felt every single performance.
Yes. And
Yeah.
what really was, for me, a great thing was that you actually got to see Porgy evolve. Because, you know, that music, his entrance music is so fabulous, but he played against it. Trevor played against it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Porgy wasn't popular. I mean,
Yeah.
he
Yes,
wasn't,
that's
and
right.
he hated the children and whatever.
Yeah.
So he really played against that music.
Mhm.
And you get to see him grow as a person and what love does to him as far as Bess is concerned and all that. And that was, you don't get to see that
Yeah.
often.
But
Because
let me
that
tell you
music just says something else, you know, you think.
But Cynthia Clarey, the way she could go, "Oh, you wicked telling on the devil," the way she could look at you, it was just, you know,
And
it was
listen,
just made you just feel so bad, you know.
okay.
What you out there doing, trying to have a little sex and eat some chicken.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And Cynthia Clarey, you had all the mama moves, those head movements. Get your
Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah, child.
At church,
I
she was so righteous.
You see me
all the
snatch Paula out of that group of folks.
all the subtext was right there. I felt because I
Oh,
said to
yes.
myself, I said, I know that woman. I know that energy. If you
Oh,
don't get your tail up from over there,
Well, no,
just-
listen. And
Thank
because
you.
I was on stage at both years, I was Annie, so she was snatching me then. I was so happy I wasn't Annie in the films. I could declare that she could snatch me. It was real.
But here's
And let
but that moment that we were talking about later when Bess starts singing, it's like
It's
this
like
round.
this
I the
Oh,
only woman ever Porgy ever had.
yes.
When Cynthia Haymon would sing that in the room, oh my God, there would be such stillness because
Yeah.
all of a sudden you really got the dilemma that Bess was in. You know,
Yeah.
it was like, and by the time she got to, and when the last woman comes home, honey, we were all like, yes, girl, I understand what you are going through. It was so
I was just
sad.
trying to get through that mail register because I knew I had to end up in that total
Yeah.
register. Like, no way, I'm gonna
Girl,
get that.
And the other,
Cynthia.
Cynthia,
It was
Cynthia,
amazing.
hush, girl.
other
You
You've
great
been telling me to hush for 29 years. Now I
that's
ain't
right.
hushing that.
Listen,
other
but
great
you know
moment
what,
is when
Shannon?
she sings
You're
the
always telling me to hush.
You
You
know
told
what?
me
Kenny, I told you this was not
Hey.
Kenny. I told you this was not gonna be easy.
I know.
Listen, you know what? I tell Cynthia to hush because since I have met Cynthia, she's been making up these crazy stories
Yes.
about her unbelievable ability to sing beautifully. Okay,
And sings.
so listen,
Listen, Cynthia. Wait,
Uh-uh.
Marietta, I have receipts. You know I have.
we asked her one time because she sang so beautifully. She sang the end of summertime, and she looked. I'm standing on stage looking at her, right? And nothing. I
Nothing
mean to
moved.
tell you, nothing moving. She gets to the end and she's just saying, with Daddy and Mama standing by. I mean, nothing moving, and it's gorgeous and it's spinning. So we like, Cynthia, just tell us, how you doing there? How you do? She tell us some crazy story. Well, you know, when I was down in Florida, sitting on the porch, I used to try to figure out if I could sing and make the filament in the light bulb. I remember that crazy stuff you said, girl. I was thinking about it.
That's how I learned to sing pianissimos. You know, those
Okay,
two
so the
filaments
rest
in
of us get a light bulb and try to make the filament. Try to sing into the filament. Girl, please, anybody think about you with that crazy stuff?
How about you? Okay, so they got the good music. Okay, Cynthia Clarey sings "My Man's Gone Now," and it's so fabulous that I don't even want to walk in the room. All right, because I'm the reason that Robbins is dead. Right, I'm the reason, and she's been watching that burial money like a hawk. I'm the one that comes in and he loses his mind. And boy, if he hadn't died, she was going to chew him out and kick his behind.
I know that's right.
Yeah,
So-
she's gonna mess him up. So when I walk in the room, Cynthia could look at me like, and I was like, you know, God will forgive me for my sin. If God forgives me, you gotta forgive me. When nothing happened. Then Marietta, anything Marietta was saying. So over all these years, me and Barrington been singing Marietta's line "Before the Storm," just the scene that you just played.
Oh my God.
Ain't gonna be no hurricane. And that beautiful, luscious mezzo voice, the way she just caresses each note, and it's filled with such heart and such humanity that you know what she feels and what she's gonna say. Even if you aren't looking at her, you hear the humanity in her voice.
Yes.
Okay, Marietta.
Listen, Marietta, I chose that part because You sing that. Why you sitting all that?
I know.
Oh,
Clara.
oh my God! Like I can rewind just that part like 20 times because it's
All the
so
time.
brilliant.
Thank
yeah.
you. I appreciate that, really.
It's so brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
So, ladies, listen. Somebody wanted to say a few words to you all, and this person couldn't be here live, and so they sent me something, and I want to play it for you.
Ladies, good evening. You know, I was sitting here trying to figure out what exactly I wanted to say to honor you, to honor this moment, and to let each of you know the impact you've had on my life. When you stop and think about where we were and how we arrived at the point where this film was made, it sort of takes my breath away, because I know each of you well enough to understand that when we stepped on that film set, that we were all coming from different angles, and we were all knee deep in the emotions of our personal lives. And from that moment up until now, there's been so much exponential growth as an artist, and more importantly, as a human being. So what strikes me mostly at this time is I can't remember a point in my life where the four of you haven't been present in it. So I sort of feel the evolution of my humanity, of my artistry, of my being intrinsically tied to each of you. I sort of get emotional at the moment. So I had to hunt around and find someone that could capture how I feel, because sometimes I don't get my words out right. So I turned to Maya Angelou, and she writes, "I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel." Thank you for making me feel validated, appreciated, respected, and loved. I give you these in equal measure and much, much more. Love. Be well.
Oh, my goodness.
That's my Gordon Hawkins. I love it.
That was my Gordon Hawkins. That was that Jake.
Yeah.
And I tell you, the chemistry that we had on that film set was real. And Cynthia spoke about it with she and Willard. And you know, I had watched from the sidelines Bruce Hubbard and Carolyn Blackwell. And to watch Bruce and that glorious voice of his, and to watch the love between the character, and Carolyn's character, that was just, you know, a taste of it, to see it every time we performed it. So by the time we got to the filming this, yes, I had to learn to lip sync to Carolyn's voice, but you can't fake that. I mean, you know, as an actor, you have to get into the character. But I had seen it for that first summer, and I knew that Clara and Jake had to have, you know, a special relationship. And so I don't know if Gordon is listening, but you know, you were an amazing Jake. And I think what we did together, I think they all could feel it. They could all see it. You were so authentic to the character, and the love you had for your wife, Clara, and the little baby, our little baby was just a gift, Gordon. So thank you for that. You're an amazing artist. Thank you.
Yeah, Gordon's been like big brother, uncle, buddy, like mentor, idol for me my entire life. I met him now 22 years ago when I went to Bragan's for the first time, and I saw him. And at the time, I was so young and not clued into the industry. I thought that he was singing in this film. And here's this guy now that I'm in the same room with, who was on this film that I had watched 5,000 times. And then it was George Shirley and Myra Merritt that told me that it was Bruce that was singing, and that in some way I reminded them of Bruce. And I then became like a big fan of Bruce, and Gordon has been, it's just been great. And so when I called him and asked him to do that, he said, absolutely, of course, I'll get it to you. And so just another way to say thank you to all of you, because you're incredible. You're incredible. So I wanted now for the audience to see and hear you all doing other stuff that's not Porgy and Bess, because y'all are brilliant and you do so many things well. And I want to start with you, Marietta, and I hope you don't kill me over this. Because when I research, I go down into rabbit holes and I look and look and look and look, and I came upon something that I had never seen before. And it's not a performance, which is another reason why I think it's so brilliant and so important for people to see, particularly other singers and conductors and instrumentalists, because it shows you putting the work in and receiving information from one of the absolute masters of music in general. And it just happens to be my favorite sacred work of all time.
Unto them who forsake him, destruction shall fall upon them, for they are transgressors against him. He sought only to redeem them, yea, to redeem them. He sought only to redeem them, yet they have spoken falsely against him, spoken falsely against him. Woe unto them who forsake him.
Try this time. Do this. Let's begin the crescendo again, and try your first woe double piano.
Okay.
When you get to it, begin at 16. 3, 4, 1.
Yet they have spoken falsely against him, spoken falsely against him. Woe unto them who forsake him.
Maybe if not a breath, maybe a little lift against them. Whoa.
I lift before the first woe.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay.
Again, try it. If you don't like it, don't take it. And now, 1.
Yet they have spoken falsely against him, spoken falsely against him. Woe unto them who forsake him, destruction shall fall upon them. He sought only to redeem them, yet they hear it not. He sought only to redeem them,
that forte is in measure 31 has always annoyed me.
Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, it's in his it's in the first score, and I don't know. It sounds so sort of show-offy. Perhaps if you could begin it a little bit quieter and let it bloom a little, it might begin at measure 23, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, no. Still they hear him not. Still they hear him. And then 3 and 1. Still they hear it not. It is not only to read it. And maybe I can make that and save that. Give us a tremolando through there with the orchestra crescendo. Once again, 3, 4, and 1. Yet they hear it crescendo. It is not only to read it. I think I can help that. Yeah, that helps. I have the crescendo marked, and I think. I don't know. I think it's old enough to have been put in the parts. If not, I'll put it in. And then I have a mezzo forte at 31. So I think it's in the parts.
Okay.
And that will save your embarrassment of sort of showing off there.
I love you, Marietta.
That was beautiful.
Oh
So-
my gosh.
I happened upon that the
makes me
other
like
day.
music again.
And I was like, oh my God, everybody in the world has to see this because this is the work. This is the work. And the relationship between the two of you, and then because your voice is so outstandingly, stunningly gorgeous, but it's the preparation for you to be able to receive any sort of suggestion from him, and then to be able to immediately apply it.
Yeah.
And then have this collaboration. I think is so brilliant. Will you please talk to us about what we just witnessed?
Oh, well, I'm watching it going, wow. First of all, you have to understand that he was a legend in my house, okay? So it was such a blessing to be able to work with him. It really, really was. I'm watching that. I don't remember having that experience. First of all, and I'm going to cry, right, when I say this. But I really have to thank my biological father for being able to do that. Because my father is the one that taught us to be able to respond to authority without taking it personally. To be able to hear somebody tell you something without rising to meet it. I have to tell you. So I have to thank my father for that. Because sometimes, we get in our heads how things should be.
Yeah.
And if somebody asks us to make a change, we're like, no, this is how I do it. Right. So I really got to say that my own father really helped me to deal with conductors in general, to be able to hear somebody say, I need this, and to be able to come back. Kevin Short and Eric Owens, you both know I love you so much. So
oh my God, Eric and Kevin. Oh my God, Eric Owens.
Okay, let me just say that. And earlier I saw Frank Lepardo's name jump, and I gotta just say I love you. And Sylvia, yes, oh my God, Sylvia and Nicole, love to all of you. Okay, because Sylvia and I spent so much time singing with Mr. Shaw together. And
Let me tell you something though about Marietta. She's not going to tell you. 2 things. Marietta can count. But did you know that she also plays the trombone?
Listen.
Let's put that out there. She can play the trombone.
But here's the other thing is that honestly, and I do believe this, I really do believe this, that we are a vehicle for the music, right? So all of the studying and everything that we're doing, right, is to enable us to be able to tell the story more efficiently. And if the technique is not enabling us to do that, it's the wrong technique, right? If it's not doing that for us, then what is it doing? If it's just making us become more trapped inside ourselves, then that's not what it's supposed to be doing. So I was just really grateful that to have a technique that when somebody asks you to do something, you can do it without being encumbered, without having something get a hitch in your voice. So when I just saw that, I was like, wow, I could do that when I was young. Whoa, thank you, Jesus. Because right now I might have to think about that for a minute and like, give me a day or two. So
I said thank you, Jesus, too, when I found it.
Oh,
I said, my God, listen, I could sing Elijah for the rest of my life and not want to sing anything else.
I love that piece.
It's just
piece.
brilliant.
I got to tell you, Ken, that piece right there really helped me send my daughter to school. So wow. I'm very grateful for that piece.
And so, what was it like being like the first name in his Rolodex when he needed somebody? What is that like? How does that happen?
I'm going to say like Samson should have said to Delilah, that's God's favor. That's all I was like. I'm going to tell you, really. Once he was very loyal, and so
and he knew he could depend on her to do whatever he wanted and do it good.
My dream for my life. When people ask me what did I want to do when I was a young artist at Houston, it was to sing concert work and oratorio work. Mm-hmm. So these are the pieces that are nearest and dearest to my heart.
Yes.
So Elijah and the Messiah and St. Matthew Passion and all of those pieces are the pieces that I really love. So, once I sang for him and, he asked me to do this, it's a piece that I did with him really quite frequently. And wow. There then came a time when we did a production, I guess you would call it a production, where he needed a star group of soloists. So there came a bigger group of soloists, but guess who the other mezzo was? Florence Quivar. I could not argue with the other mezzo being Florence Quivar. I was like, oh my God, I could barely stand in her presence. I was so thrilled.
We Philly folks can sing.
Listen. She was so gorgeous. Oh my God. It was Barbara Bonney, Florence Quivar, Jerry Hadley, and Thomas Hampson as the premier group. And I was in the secondary group. I was never so happy to be in a secondary group of soloists in my life.
I'll be happy to be in the third dairy group. Have mercy. Wow. Yeah. I'm so glad that I found that. And for you all, it's on YouTube. You can find it. It's called the Preparing a Masterpiece with Robert Shaw. It's absolutely incredible. Incredible. Cynthia Haymon, my dear, you sent me a clip of a piece that Thea Musgrave wrote, clearly with your voice in her head and in her pen. Because it is crafted so brilliantly for you. And it's called Harriet, a Woman Called Moses. And I want to play this for the people so that they can hear what an angel sounds like, that they can hear what brilliance sounds like. And I want to talk to you about it after we listen. Girl.
Wow.
Listen, ma'am.
Wow.
Outrageously gorgeous and stunning. Like how I need you to unmute yourself and tell us how you did that.
Well, first of all, I was 25. Gosh, what do we do with all this time that's gone by, you guys? 25 years old. That was a few days and a couple of weeks ago. Well, I'm going to tell you one thing, Kenneth. I got started on this crazy journey in opera thinking that all of it was going to mean that, you know? I was 100% in what I was doing. I didn't think about high notes and all that other crazy stuff. I was singing to this baby whose parents didn't love her. I didn't understand that. And right after that, Mars Preston was going to come in and try to touch me. And I was going to get to go tell my mama, Altoise Devon. Altoise Devon. And then I was going to take the Negroes from the South to freedom. I didn't have time to think about my voice. I was just so into that I was singing with a broken leg, right? Because dress rehearsal, I broke my leg. And that was like 2 nights later. But I tell you what, if there's one thing I wish I could pass on to other people, and maybe to young singers, life is so about the journey, isn't it? The journey is the reward. When I was singing, I was always so unhappy with everything I did. There was nothing that was good enough. Nothing. And now that I'm the ripe old age of whatever it is I am, now I go back and I finally, just like Marietta said, can sit back and listen and go, wow, that wasn't horrible. You know, I just wish that I could have enjoyed it a little bit more. Now that the Harriet, I thoroughly enjoyed, and nothing to this day has meant more to me than Harriet. But if there were one thing I wish I could change through the different rhythms of my life, is that I wished I could have enjoyed and accepted more of my mistakes and to see the opportunity and in growing and not beat myself up so much because I wasn't perfect.
And listen, if that was, they say whoever strives after perfection is striving after God, and I will strive after what I just heard for the rest of my musical days.
Thank you. That's nice of you.
That is so incredible, and I'm so glad you sent that to me because I had not heard it. And I've just been listening, and there's so many people in that photograph who are just amazing, and you know, Bazemore and
Raymond Bazemore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Damon Evans.
Yeah. And Altoise is like my big sister too. I just love me some Altoise.
Yeah.
Her daughter Lynette was on here sending
I saw Lynette.
Yeah.
Does she sing now? Does Lynette sings now?
Lynette does not sing. Lynette does everything, but her son Justin.
Yes, Justin does.
Wow.
Cynthia, that Justin is
amazing.
Something else.
He's amazing, yeah.
Absolutely.
Really?
Oh my God. Good Lord.
Really?
Yeah.
Good Lord. Yeah. I'm glad I'm not his age, or else I would have to break his knees because he is just he's that fantastic. Yeah.
Forgive me if it's not apropos, but I just want to thank you so much. Thank you for what you've taken the time to give, Kenneth. It is just so beautiful, and the way that you are trying to put room around your respect for each artist. And one thing that's common, often artists of color don't always get the acknowledgement that they rightfully should. But thank you so much for this platform you created. It's absolutely wonderful. And a comment on your beautiful, generous character.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you. It's an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to do it. Mm-hmm. It really is. Now, Paula, I want to talk about this clip, my dear. This cabaret, this just extroverted, brilliant, full stop moment, stage animal, fabulous. We have to talk about this, but I'm gonna let the audience, first of all, people secure your wigs, where they're down, because Paul is about to light it up.
When life seems full of clouds and rain, and I am filled with naught but pain, who soothes my thumping brain? Nobody. When I tries hard to scheme and plan, to look as good as e'er I can, who says, hey, look at that handsome man? Nobody. I ain't never done nothing to nobody. I ain't never got nothing from nobody, no time. And until I get something from somebody, or sometime, I don't intend to do nothing for nobody, no time. When winter comes with snow and sleet, and me with hunger and cold feet, who says, here's some money, go get yourself something to eat? Nobody. When all day long things go amiss, and I go home to find some bliss, who hands to me a glowing kiss? Nobody. I ain't never done nothing to nobody. I ain't never got nothing from nobody, no time. And until I get something from somebody, sometime, I don't intend to do nothing for nobody, no time. I ain't never done nothing to nobody. I ain't never got nothing from nobody, no time. And until I get something from somebody, sometime, I don't intend to do nothing for nobody, no time. I don't intend to do nothing for nobody, no time.
Girl! Oh my God. Okay, so you have to tell us how you can go from being like opera diva and then recording song literature and then doing musicals and then standing on stage in cabaret, just you, and going full on like that.
Well, thank you very much. I tell you, what I love most about cabaret is the opportunity to tell the story. And the clip I sent, I didn't want to include all of that with time constraints, but I wrote back in 2015. I always write. I write songs. I write plays. I write stories. But I wrote Dark Legacy, Bright Lights of Black Broadway, and my cabaret show really shines a light on the dark legacy of all of our Black composers that are part of the American Great American Songbook. And the foundation, their legacy that they laid down, which helped to inspire the Gershwins and the Arlens, it was dark at times because that piece, Nobody, was done. It was the signature song for Bert Williams. And Bert Williams lived a life, he had such success, but part of the heartbreak was that our ancestors had to perform these songs sometimes in blackface. And so that was at the Columbia Club in Indianapolis, Indiana. I went on and made my New York City debut, cabaret debut at Feinstein's 54 Below with my show Dark Legacy. And Alex Rybeck was my musical director and Barry Kleinbord, my director. And we worked really hard to look at some of the songs that I selected for the show because we highlighted, Sissel and Blake and Fats Waller. But then there were songs that were written by people. For instance, Sophie Tucker was a big name. But one of the songs that she sang and became one of her hit songs was written by Shelton Brooks, a Black guy. And Some of These Days is that song. And so Dark Legacy talks about how Fats Waller would sell many of his songs because he couldn't get them published, and he would just sell them for money. And Shelton Brooks sent Sophie Tucker the song, and she too would do it in blackface. And one time, the story goes that one time she arrived at her destination and her trunks didn't arrive. So Sophie Tucker stood on the stage and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I am just a white woman. And I perform this song in blackface, but today you're going to see me do this song." And she honored him. And so those stories, anyone that knows me knows that legacy and history is so much a part of who Lloyd and Rosie Ingram raised. And so I wanted to give honor to these Black composers. And so what I attempted to do there was to do the top hat and the gloves that Bert Williams had to do. And while I didn't adore in the blackface, I wanted to get across that we just put that on. We can just smile for you, but deep inside the pain that must have been feeling. So
Absolutely.
Dark Legacy is something that I intend to do. I've been offered to do it out here in Las Vegas, but it is, for me, cabaret allows the opportunity to tell the stories with spoken word, what we call patter, along with singing the words of the song. But again, my heart for opera and my heart for musical theater and my heart for faith-based music, and such a blessing to do some of these art songs by Black American composers and spirituals. I just have an appetite for it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you need to know anything more, you can check out on the ticker tape Paula's website and her Instagram. You can follow her there and see where she's performing next and get some of her recordings and all of that good stuff. Make sure you check it out. Now, Cynthia Clarey, my dear, when you said you ventured into the world of cabaret too, baby, you didn't tell me this. You ain't tell me you was going to hurt me like this, ma'am. And we're going to talk about it after we shift our wigs to the left, because Paula put them on the right. But you about to snatch them back off. Get it together, y'all.
Cynthia Clarey.
You know, sometimes when relationships end, whether they be good, bad, or even indifferent, it can be hard to let it go. Why can't I walk away? Why can't I just forget? Why can't I make believe we never met? What makes my heart refuse to close the door? What crazy fool would face the truth, yet ask for more? Why must I play the clown
who walks an empty stage. Why can't I ring the curtain down? If he could turn his back, if he could say goodbye, if he could walk away, then why can't I? What makes this heart refuse to close the door? What crazy fool would face the truth, yet ask for more? Why must I play the clown who walks an empty stage? Why can't I ring the curtain down? Turn his back, if he could say goodbye, if he could walk away, then why can't I?
Cynthia Clarey!
Ma'am,
Cynthia Clarey.
ma'am, you got some splaining to do.
Paula and Marietta were there, I think.
Wow.
That one.
Wow, wow is all I can say is wow. How
You've gotten to be a professional at making people cry, Cynthia. That's crazy.
What I do.
Cynthia, that's amazing.
That is.
You know, I know that song from, I sang for Six Flags over Georgia, over Texas, over Mid-America for 4 summers. And the second summer, baritone named Larry Smith. This was his song in the show, Why Can't I Walk Away? And I thought, wow, I love that song. One of these days, I'm gonna sing that song. And I found it and I said, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Because I had gone through a divorce and all this stuff. So it kind of hit home, you know?
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I'm so glad that you sent this to me. So glad. And I cannot wait to experience you live. Both you and Paula, like live. I need to come and have my 2 cocktail drink minimum and sit right in the center.
Yes, we'd love for you to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And have a good old time. Like for real. Like you all display so much versatility. And the versatility is all brilliant. Like, can you sing opera? Yep. Can you sing oratorio, sacred music? Yep. Can you sing art songs? Yep. Can you sing some music theater if you want to? Yes, indeed. Can you sing some cabaret too? Uh-huh. And can you look absolutely gorgeous while doing it with such integrity and such professionalism and grace? Because Cynthia, you were in that gown, ma'am. Somebody poured that gown onto you.
The gown was the hit of the show. Everybody asked me in the audience, where did you get that gown?
Okay, because you're ready to walk down the red carpet at the Oscars in that. I said, okay, madam. But I honestly just wanted to salute you. And first, congratulations on 30 years of this film that has been a part of so many singers' lives. I'm not sure that if you all knew while you were making it that it would be so iconic and so special and mean so much to so many people, but it has. And Maya Angelou always says this, that saying thank you to someone is the greatest thing that you can say, because thank you is what you say to God. And so I thank you, all of you, for who you are and what you represent and what you've always represented to people like me and to our community and to this industry. You're incredible. And I love each and every one of you. And I thank you for spending over now 2 hours with me. And I could go on and on and on. But before we go, I do have some fun questions for you all. But before we get to them, I just wanted to remind everybody that I have one more show for Black History Month, and it's going to be on this Wednesday at 7. And I will be talking with the great Leona Mitchell. So come back and sit with me and Miss Leona Mitchell on Wednesday night at 7. We're going to chat it up about that brilliant career and all of the things that she's doing as well. We had to reschedule her interview. It was supposed to be last Monday, but as you know, the southern states were hit with this weather and power was gone and all that. And so she said, well, I can do Wednesday. And I said, well, if you can do Wednesday, I'm going to do Wednesday. So we're going to do Wednesday with Miss Leona Mitchell. And I also wanted to let everybody know that I'm going to be working with the wonderful Denise Graves with the Denise Graves Foundation on resurrecting the home that was the National Negro Opera House, which is in Pittsburgh. You're going to be hearing a lot more about this. I'm going to be calling on our community and inside and out to help us restore this to Mary Caldwell Dawson's original dream. There's so much that she accomplished with this home. One I didn't realize is that she rented out the Metropolitan Opera House and performed the opera Owanga with her company before Marian Anderson made her historic debut in 1955. And for a Black woman to do that at that time was so incredible. And she built this house in Pittsburgh, and it helped to house a lot of the Black artists and athletes that came to town who had trouble staying in hotels, even still in the mid-50s. And she wanted it to be a safe haven. And so Denise Graves and her foundation are pulling our resources and going to be calling on the community to help save this now historical monument and restore it to its glory, so that we can have performances there. It can be a research facility. It can be a place of absolute positive greatness for Black people. And I'm so honored that Denise has asked me to join her and her team. And so please look out for emails and text messages and your social media and all of that, because this is what it's about. And so I thank you, Denise, for asking me to come on board and to help with that. Now, ladies, couple of quick questions. I want to know, and we'll go in order on my screen, which is Cynthia Clarey, Paula, then Cynthia, then Marietta. What kind of a girl are you? Breakfast, brunch, lunch, dinner, or dessert? Unmute yourself, baby.
I love breakfast, but I think I'm dessert.
I love it. And what is that dessert that gets you going?
Oh boy. Strawberry shortcake or key lime pie.
Listen, and the key lime's got to be from Florida. Don't mess with me.
Absolutely. Or German chocolate cake.
Gotcha. What about you, Paula?
I am a brunch girl. I like all of the above, but I'm a brunch girl. I love the opportunity to kind of mix and match the sweet with the savory. But I have to say, and in terms of desserts, my sisters and I have a sweet potato pie company. I'll have to send you one, Kenny. Oh yeah, my grandmother's recipe, Marie Winston's recipe. So some of these ladies have tasted it. So that is definitely something I do. But
my address is.
But I have to say, and I love to cook. I cook so many things, but I have to say that, you know, being married for almost 34 years, I like the idea of starting at breakfast, you know, finding something to do through lunch and dinner, and having your dessert with your man.
All right.
Amen. 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 What about you, Miss Cynthia?
There you go. I'm a senior citizen. Okay. So after much ado and deep thinking, I must tell you, Kenneth, I have landed on the side of this fact. I am an equal opportunity greedy person. I just, whatever hour I can find, whatever I can eat. I've been trying to diet and stuff, but I just love food. I just love eating. So I just put all of it together, and you can call it whatever you want to call it. So I just take all that food, salad, fish, everything. I don't like dessert too much, though.
Okay. Well, I'll take your serving of dessert.
Okay, you can have that. Although I would like that key lime pie or Paula's sweet potato pie. I just don't know which one of them. I just like eating. I'm a grazer. I eat like a cow all day long. That's why my finger is getting a little.
Grazing is fun. Grazing is fun. What about you, Marietta?
I wish I could say I preferred one over the other, but I will not say grazing. I would say there are not too many meals that I have missed.
Oh.
And I do keep a tally at the end of the day because I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Which one was missed today? I believe that was lunch. Okay. So I want to make sure that everybody is taken care of by the end of the day. Okay. And for dessert, it depends. As I've gotten older, I really don't care for them to be too sweet, but I want to know that sugar has passed through.
I know that's right. Now, has there been a place in your travels that you absolutely loved and would love to go back to, whether you were working or not? And is there a place where it's like, where'd you absolutely love to go? If Corona released us right now, where would you go?
I had one of my best holidays, one of my best vacations in Jamaica. In oh shoot, I can't think of the name of it. Anyway, that's where maybe I would like to go.
Got
it. Most places I have found to be really, really interesting. So there's no place that I wouldn't want to go back to.
Gotcha. What about you, Paula?
I would say Belgium was amazing, and I would just pack up a whole lot of good stuff to bring back. But I just the memories I have of doing the Carmen Jones in the West End, and so many of the friends that I developed from that. I would say in a heartbeat, and in fact, some things may be coming ahead, but in a heartbeat would go back to London. And then in terms of a place I wouldn't, I agree with Cynthia. To be a mother, a wife and a mother and performer and entrepreneur and all these things, I'm just grateful if they call. If they call and say, come perform, I'm open and I'm excited to be there because I don't take any bit of it for granted. And in saying that, and I know you may have a couple more questions, but to be on here tonight, I just had to pause to say, coming to Glynebourne as my first professional job and to meet Cynthia Clarey, to meet Marietta Simpson, to meet Cynthia Haymon, to meet Harolyn at the time, and Greg and Bruce and all of the Willard and all of the amazing, I was like starstruck. And these ladies can tell you, even though I'm, they are my senior.
Cut her microphone right now. Cut her microphone right now and turn off her camera. We don't want to hear no more from her.
I can tell you that I literally went around like bugging them all to tell me, I mean, I didn't have the Young Artist Opera program. I went to Glynebourne and sang with these ladies, and I was literally bugging them to just learn. So any opportunity that you can get to be called on to do it, go. Because somewhere in there, even if you don't think it was your favorite place or you're not sure about it, there is a blessing in there if you just go.
I know that's right. What about you, Cynthia? Where would you go right now?
That's the most technical thing I've done ever. Okay, so I'm going to go ethereal. if I could go back, I go back to the green room at Glynebourne Opera, the old opera house. I would go in a second. Oh, Kim, if you think the recording, please, what were we going to say?
What was so special about that place for you?
Oh, Kenneth, the ladies can tell you what the world has on recording and so on stage is a mini extraction of the life that happened in the green room. There, we were a family. We cried with each other's pains. We laughed. We would get up on tops of tables and preach sermons. And we were a community of people. It was one of the most amazing things. I would go back there.
Wow.
Where I'm reluctant to go once this taping is over, back to the place where you all are not there. Because the big pain I have had in my life and that I have spent most of my adult years looking for is trying to duplicate these relationships. And the big mistakes I have made in my life have been from trying to duplicate the authenticity, the genuineness of the relationships that we had on Catfish Row, which is so similar to where I came from. So that's going to be my answer.
That's amazing. It's amazing because I too have found that sort of feeling of family on Catfish Row, unlike any other opera I've ever done.
Yeah.
I have some friends that I know that I will have for the rest of my life on Catfish Row. I get that. I really do. Thank you for that. What about you, Marietta?
First of all, I have to say amen to Cynthia. What she said, that is very true. Trying to chase that. It's very true. That recapturing that moment in time, recapturing those people, that feeling, very precious. And whenever you have that experience, it treasure it, because you think, when you're in music, I'll wax philosophical for a second. Whenever you're in music school and you think that you're going to have those experiences, you're daydreaming that all of your jobs will be like that, and they're not. You just have to hold on to those. I can count really on maybe a hand and some fingers the people in over 40 years that those relationships. I know lots of people that I think very highly of, but people that I count really close to my heart outside of the Porgy and Bess family. So, these relationships are really, really profound, really profound.
Yeah.
The place that I would go, I'm in Indiana right now. So the place I fantasize about going to is Philadelphia, because that's where my family is. So the place I want to be is Philadelphia, New Jersey, where my family is. And besides that, out of the country, Paris. I would go to Paris.
Listen, I don't eat croissants in America because I've had them in Paris, and so
I hate to be that snob, right? But the croissant is not the same.
sorry, America, you can't do that one.
Yeah, not the same.
Ladies, I have one final question. And when we sign off the air, don't sign off your computer, because I want to thank you privately when we're off the air. But finally, I want to ask you, I know that heaven exists, but when you get to the pearly gates, what do you want to hear God say?
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. What do I want to hear him say? Come on in here, girl. You did the best you could.
I love it. I love it. Paula?
well done, thy good and faithful servant. And I hope that my mother and father are standing there. Kenny, let me get you. That's
I love you. Cynthia. Did you unmute, baby? I know.
Now, Cynthia,
Yeah, pray for me.
I'm the old person here, so you can
I
do
always been old, Cynthia. Always. I want to hear my God say, "Get on back down there and do something else. You ain't supposed to be up here yet."
You ain't done.
You ain't done yet. And
I
I didn't think so.
I ain't finished with you yet. Get down. Listen. What about you, Marietta?
First of all, I told you this woman could tell a story, right? Well, really, I'm like Paula. I hope that I see my family. You know, I hope I see my family at the gates, and I hope the Lord says, "Well done." You know, because I feel like if I'm not doing all this to get there and hear Him say that, then my faith has not been right. So
Okay. I know that's right.
Yeah. So
thank you. Well, ladies, thank you so much. And congratulations on this incredible achievement, both in this film and everything that you've accomplished in your lives, from your careers to your beautiful families. It's just been amazing to see, amazing to watch. And thank you for spending these 2.5 hours with me and sharing your stories with the folks out there. It means a great deal. So everybody, thank you so much. And don't forget to join me Wednesday at 7 with Leona Mitchell. And for goodness sake, put your mask on and wash your hands and socially distance and just do what you're supposed to do, because we've reached a horrific milestone in over 500,000 American lives gone into this virus. So do what you are supposed to do. Take care of you. Thank you, Cynthia, for this example. Thank you. And you too can have one of those masks and just do your part.
Mask. This really is the singer's mask.
Yes, I have one in black.
Can I say this real fast, Kenneth? Kenneth, thank you for everything, that you do.
Thank
Thank you so much for everything that you do.
And I love how you girls want to see you girls again soon.
Yes, but thank you for what you do in your support of all of the young artists that you do, for all of the mature and seasoned artists, all the support that you do. It's really vitally important, and I just want to recognize you for that and say thank you. We really very much appreciate it, and in your own amazing career. So
I was
thank you.
going to say yes for that as well. And I started it, Kenny, with Black Opera, but Black Opera, the film, is where this kind of started, this platform. And I believe in that so much. And to those folk that have behind the scenes done so much to already start the filming process, and you all have managed to create something out of this pandemic. So to all of you all who are working on that, thank you, and I salute you. But I agree, to get us together, because the four of us have we could have gone for another 2 hours with the stories. We know how tired you are, but you don't show it. You keep smiling, but your work is appreciated.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you Wednesday. And ladies, I'll see you in a second. Have a good one. God bless.